So hello, welcome back to Go Again Gaming. My name is Az, and today we're just having another unfiltered raw thoughts discussion. Going to try and do more of this as these thoughts sort of pop into my head as such. But today I want to speak to you about content creation. So if you're an upcoming or aspiring content creator, these are the 5 things I would suggest doing or following to a certain degree in order to be what is deemed as successful, right? You know, a lot of people have their sort of ideas of success, and that can really range from person to person. However, there has been a point of sort of genesis from these ideas that I'm discussing with you right now, and that is the fact that a lot of people in the content creation sphere recently have been receiving notifications from LSS regarding some sort of package that is being sent to them. Now, historically, we have received, as creators in the sphere, we have received these content creator appreciation kits. So normally that comes with a mat or so, and then a couple of cool promo cards that we can share with our audience or use to sort of grow our channels. That's normally the sort of pitch that is, sort of included with these kits. Is LSS, give us these kits to help grow our channel, help grow the game, and get more eyes on the game, and just give away things to the audience that we have that might not necessarily be able to create content or do these things all the time. I mean, content creation is a sacrifice, for those out there that are creating content. You know how time consuming this is. Now, I have a full-time job outside of content creation, but I would say that I probably spend as much time content creating and community sort of managing than I do actually at my day job. I shouldn't say managing community. I should say cultivating a community. But there is an aspect of management in that as well, because you're managing your Discord, you're managing your YouTube uploads, you're managing your streams, you're managing, if you've got patrons and do certain things with patrons, you're managing that as well. You're doing a lot of things, but the thing is, content creation is a sacrifice. It is a lot of time spent for essentially just a passion project. And that leads me into the first thing, is you have to be passionate about what you're talking about. You can't just get on board with a trend or a game just because it's popular, because people will realise that you're just in it for that reason. People will know that you're just doing it because it's popular. So you need to be passionate about what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're portraying on your videos. If you just sit here like this talking about the next card that's released, this is quite good into the matchup where you're not going to get any views or engagement, I don't think, because you're not really engaging or entertaining. So you have to be passionate about the content that you're speaking about, and that hopefully will come across in your voice, in your mannerisms, and in the way you deliver what you're trying to say. So if you're not passionate, people will find that out straight away. And it's the same with all things, right? You can't fake it until you make it. You can't just do that. You need to be passionate about the stuff that you're creating or talking about. For me, a lot of the passion came from just the idea of this game. I'm not the most competitive player, but the sort of passion for me, it always has been about the hero-centric aspect of the game. Choosing a character, identifying and sort of meshing with that character and really, really getting into the shoes of, what their interactions are and how they sort of attack the opponent and defend and all that sort of thing, and what armor pieces they can wear and the lore and the stuff that surrounds that character. It has a lot of RPG elements and stuff to it, which is what drew me in. What really sort of drew me to the game was the hero-centric aspect of it, and the passion behind that is ultimately where and why I do the stuff that I do. Azalea, for instance, I've been speaking about Azalea for the last year or so now, was just a character that I absolutely loved with regards to the lore, where she was from, the fact she had to struggle in her sort of early or young years to get to where she is now as a sort of contract killer, assassin, mercenary, and she's obviously raking it in now, but she's had to go through the pit, she's had to go through the struggles of being a squeaker and all this sort of stuff and doing some horrible deeds in order to get where she is now. She had to just do what she had to survive. And the translation of that onto the character for the longest time was the same story, right? She was always the underdog. She was always struggling into the meta or struggling into the competitive aspect of the game. She wasn't really getting anywhere until fairly recently, of course. But it's always been for the last year or so. It's been all about Azalea here on Go Again Gaming. We've absolutely loved the character, and we still will cover the character, of course. Obviously, she's getting a massive renaissance right now, but ultimately, you just have to be passionate about the thing that you're speaking about, whether that's a character or what have you. Whatever it is that you're passionate about in the game, you need to have that coming across in your videos and all that sort of thing. So yeah, very, very important to be passionate. Don't just try and chase the news. Don't just try and chase the thing that's relevant, because if you just try and do that, you're not going to get satisfaction out of your content, and therefore your passion's going to go down. So you just want to be doing what you're passionate about, and whatever that is. For me, again, it's Azalea content. Very, very passionate about the character still, even though she's getting there in the competitive side of things. But yeah, still love the character, still love the hero. Other sort of passions of mine is just the casual social aspect of the game. And therefore, I'm going to be picking up the UPF series soon, which is probably going to be, I'm going to say so myself, probably one of the best edited some of the best edited, if not the best edited gameplay entertainment on YouTube for Flesh and Blood, and that's going to be in the casual social multiplayer format that is Ultimate Pit Fight. So I'm gonna claim that right now. I'm very, very confident that it will be one of the best things you can watch on the internet for Flesh and Blood, albeit it's not really the competitive thing. Anyway, but yeah, very, very passionate in the social aspect of the game, and it's led me to be able to do things that I never thought I'd be able to do. The passion for the game made me travel across the ocean from the UK to America. And I was on my own. I was travelling alone because all my mates and all my friends are essentially in America. I've made some amazing friends from this game that are not even local to me. I can't just go around their house and say, do you want to come out to play today? I can't do that. So the fact that this game has been a conduit for me to getting on a plane on my own and flying over to the USA to meet some lifelong friends that I've met through playing this game is amazing, and that's all because of the passion. That's all because of the sort of connection that you make through that passion as well. So don't chase the thing that's relevant. Just be yourself and be passionate about the things that you love about the thing that you're talking about. Anyway, passion is the main thing that you should be focusing on is where does your passion stem from for the thing that you're talking about. Now, another important thing as well, I feel this could be different for everybody. It's the same with the relevance thing. If your channel is basically just news on what's happening in the Flesh and Blood universe, and that's fair enough. That's your passion. If you want to do that, that's great. But another thing is the second part of what I'm going to be saying today, and that's finding a niche. Now, you could argue that Flesh and Blood is a niche in itself, but what I feel is worth doing is finding a niche within that niche. Because if people then Google or YouTube, I want to search for bolt-in content, they're going to find it straight away if you do that thing, right? It's the same with the Azalea cult. I started the Azalea cult with Jim from FabTCG Cards, fantastic guy in USA. And we started the Azalea cult because we just loved the character. We didn't care about her competitive viability. We just loved the character, loved all of the cards and the art and what she was trying to go to portray at the time through her cards. And we were very, very passionate about not only the character, but some of the effects on the cards as well. We absolutely loved Red and the Ledger, for instance. We absolutely loved it. Even a year ago when she wasn't really being played, we still loved it regardless. And that was a niche within a niche. It was the Azalea cult. It was Flesh and Blood, but it was Flesh and Blood about Azalea, the character. So every time someone was going onto YouTube or Google and typing in Azalea video or Azalea deck, or Azalea cult, obviously that's now a thing. After a year or almost a year of doing it, people were finding the Azalea cult. People were finding us, and that is also due to the next part, the next sort of thing you should do when you're content creating. But it's if you make yourself easily findable by doing something that is very focused and very niche, you will be able to get in that sort of organic engagement audience to your channel that are interested in what you have to say and where your passion is. So it's very focused, it's very niche. People are going to Google you and find you organically. Now, you could also argue that also having a very niche within a niche is not going to allow you to grow. And that's a valid point as well. If you're so niche that once you've exhausted that market, you're not going to go anywhere, that is also a valid point, which is why I personally have decided to do other things on my channel that are not Azalea related as well going forward. Albeit Azalea is the main thing that I love about Flesh and Blood, but there's loads of other things I love about it as well. But I think initially when you're starting a channel, finding a niche, finding something that is easily identifiable to you and your channel and what you're passionate about is probably the best thing to do, because if you can find a character or a sort of piece of lore or whatever you want to do, you know, certain interactions and engagements within Flesh and Blood, if you can, you should be able to talk about that all day every day, you know, no matter how much of a pool or how much of a resources you have to tap into, you should be able to just talk on that for absolutely ages if you're passionate about it. So yeah, definitely find a niche within that niche. Yeah, Flesh and Blood is a niche in itself, as I mentioned earlier. But if you are a content creator looking to make Flesh and Blood content, focus in on that niche, because that's where a lot of your audience and a lot of your organic first-time sort of subscribers and viewers will come from. Is the focused content. So yeah, definitely focus on that. I could be wrong in this as well. By the way, I'm just sharing what I feel is probably the best way to get an organic audience and people that are interested in you as a person, as a creator. And that is another reason why I do it personally, is not for monetary value. We'll get into that later. Not for any sort of selfish reasons. I just do it because I want to make those connections socially. I want to get to know people that are the same sort of wavelengths as me and passionate as me on certain things. And I think I've got that. You know, the Discord is always thriving with different discussions and different threads going on all the time, and the community that we've cultivated there has been absolutely fantastic so far. So yeah, absolutely love it. So find a niche is my second piece of advice. Although a lot of people can argue against that as well, but do whatever's right for you. But my journey has been very successful by finding a niche and growing that way organically. So the third thing I would say to do is network and also do a lot of social interactions with other creators. Seek out collaborations with other people as well, because this will allow you to get seen by other audiences. So I've done a lot of collaborations in my time, and that's because I think they're a fantastic way for both parties to share their audiences and get eyes on different aspects of the Flesh and Blood psyche, and a lot of people can be exposed to other people that they might not necessarily know if you are doing collaborations, if you are networking, if you are going on to other people's podcasts and doing a guest spot or what have you. That is a great way to grow not only yourself but also other people as well, and the rising tide raises all ships. So if you came to me as a smaller creator and said, right, Az, I've got an idea, would you like to, you know, do this with me? You know, I'd entertain it for the most part, as long as it wasn't, you know, OnlyFans or something. I'd be up for it, you know. So again, just reach out to your favorite people, reach out to who inspires you, drop them a message. Say if you want to do a collab, if you've got some massive ideas that you think are sort of grandiose, then reach out to people that might want to share you on that journey as well, or share that journey with you. Because yeah, collaboration and networking and, you know, doing all the socials is probably a very, very another important part of sort of getting recognition and establishing yourself in that space, is by being prevalent on the socials. So I would definitely sort of create Twitter accounts, Instagram accounts, and sort of reach out to people and follow people that you're interested in. Not only that as well, if you're taking in all this social information, you know, if Twitter is feeding you this sort of constant constant stream of information from people that are talking about Flesh and Blood and stuff, you can get involved with those discussions. What might happen then is you might sort of think, oh, that's a great video, that's a great idea for a video. And then you could make that video and then share it back into the Twitter thread that you were just speaking about and stuff, and say, here's my thoughts. And people might think, oh yeah, I'm going to watch that video because I'm a visual person. I like to watch and listen to someone speaking rather than reacting on Twitter and all this sort of thing. So I would definitely just do that. I would be more, much more involved in the socials if you can. I know it's a lot of information to take in. A lot of people don't have time for it, again, which is another reason why content creation is a big sacrifice. You do have to be prepared to sacrifice a lot of time that you have, your own time, to be able to do these things. And if you can't sacrifice that time, it's gonna be hard to get into it. So you do have to spend a lot of time doing all of these things that I've said so far, at least in my experience, right? So yeah, connecting on socials and sort of being involved in that social space, taking in all that, as much information as you can that might spark new ideas or more thought-provoking things. Definitely something that you need to do, in my opinion, is get on the socials and network. The fourth thing I would say as well is, do not get into this for monetary gain, because Flesh and Blood, as much as the company is doing really, really well, as we know, content creators on YouTube will not make much money at all. Even the big ones, even the big content creators will not make much money. So it's still a very niche game to take full time. It's basically, there's only a few people, I'm not going to name names in this, but there's only a few people that I know that do this full time. And it's very hard, and not all of the sort of revenue comes from one stream either. So you need to have multiple revenue streams in order to make it viable as a job. YouTube ad revenue is not great. Since I've become monetized on YouTube, this could be different for other people as well, because I don't make clickbaity videos. I don't make hyper edited Mr. Beast style videos. I'm more sort of talking to people like this, unfiltered and raw. But I've made $8 so far, and I've been monetized for about a month. So I've made $8 so far. $8 a month is not enough to sustain a lifestyle. I'll tell you that now. So you're not really going to be. You should not be into YouTube for monetary gain. If you want to be into YouTube for monetary gain, I would try and do a different niche. I wouldn't try and do Flesh and Blood for monetary gain, because the audience just is not there right now. And obviously, I can see it, going a ridiculous. The trajectory of Flesh and Blood is ridiculous right now, right? It's going to be massive. But if you're in it for monetary gain, you're not going to get the results. At least in my experience, you're not going to get the results, because. Also, with regards to that, making stuff like Patreons, if you've just made a channel, you've got, 10, 20 subs, lay off the Patreon for now. Get a nice backlog of videos behind you before you sort of say, right, I've got a Patreon now, because that seems a little bit sort of off to me. So I wouldn't be making Patreons until you're sacrificing a lot of your time to do the project or do the channel, and until you can really feel like you're giving back value to the people that would subscribe to you on Patreon. So again, yeah, don't look at it as a monetary thing, because you're going to make not much money at all, and obviously there's a lot of hoops to jump through before you even become monetized on YouTube. I had to spend the last 2 years doing loads of different types of content, trying to find my feet as to what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it and all this sort of thing, discovering Azalea and all that. You go through all of this to then get the notification that you have become monetized, and I've made $8 in a month. Now, there are probably more optimal ways to try and make money from the platform, but that is not the reason why I am in it for, to make content. And I don't think you should be either. Again, this is my opinion, but I do not think you should be in it to make money, because you're just not going to, in my experience, probably not going to make as much money as you would like. Now, that being said, it's a good goal to have to start making money on YouTube. But again, I just don't think it's the thing that you should be focused on. You should be focused on making your content nice and engaging, really, really well edited, all of your thoughts being portrayed in a nice manner, and just being a beacon of positivity for the thing that you're trying to speak about or be passionate about, as we discussed earlier, the niche that you're in. Just put all of your time and effort into that. Don't put all of your time and effort into trying to make a clickable thumbnail or anything. It's a nice little thing. Once you get into the rhythm of making thumbnails and all that sort of stuff, it's great. Obviously, it's a nice little creative process where you can mess around with Photoshop or Paint.net in my instance. Yeah, I wouldn't focus on trying to do that. I would focus on just trying to make your content as engaging as possible. There's an argument to be made about thumbnails as well. Obviously, that is engagement as well. It's like a cold open almost. It's like you have to make the thing clickable. So maybe you should, going back on that, maybe you should try a little bit on thumbnails, but don't spend too much time on it. Just make a good video first, and I would recommend that obviously you get a good microphone more than anything else with regards to the technology, because having a good microphone is much better than having good visuals. If you've got great visuals but shit audio, you know, whatever you're trying to say, whatever you're trying to portray is lost in that crap audio. Doesn't matter how crystal clear your image is, what you're trying to portray, the message is going to be lost. So auditory is very, very key to success as well. That wasn't even a point I made on this list, but nevertheless, it's very, very important. But yeah, finally, to wrap up that statement, do not be in it for monetary gain if you're trying to make content, especially on card games, because it's just not there, really, to be honest, especially at the very, very start. But yeah. So $8 I made in the first month of being monetized. So that's just me. And finally, I would say don't give up. Just keep going. And this is a thing as well with regards to content creation. Obviously, it's a big sacrifice. It's a big commitment. You do have to sacrifice and give up a lot of your time and effort and resources and money in some cases to do this. You have to be all in on it, because if you're not all in, that's going to be portrayed in your content. You have to be passionate. You have to be in a sort of, you know, in a place where you can speak for days and days and days on end about a certain thing. Now, I know that that's going to dry up eventually. You can't just keep speaking about the same thing over and over and over and over again. Well, you can, but obviously there's going to be a time where it grates on you as well. There's going to be a time where, like, for me right now, right, Azalea, the character that I've been covering for the last year or so, is now being spoken about by every single person, essentially. Everybody, the optics on Azalea right now is absolutely insane. And that's detrimental to me in a way, because I just speak about the character from a casual perspective. I've been speaking about Azalea for the last year or so, not really going into sort of hyper-competitive strategy and stuff, but that is now happening, you know. A lot of the people that would be checking out Azalea won't be checking out my content anymore, because they'll be going to the hyper-competitive sort of list that has shown success in order to win tournaments. So it's going to be these influences from the outside telling you to stop, telling you to be like, there's no point in doing this anymore. What's the point? What's the point in my voice being heard now when someone else is doing it better? There's going to be loads of other things. And I've gone through that recently as well, you know, with all these hyper-competitive Azalea lists coming out and doing well at tournaments. I'm just like, wow, okay. The focus is now going to be on other people to speak about Azalea now, not me. So it's one of those things as well that you have to just get on with. You can't give up. You can't let other things sort of get in the way of what you want to talk about, what you're passionate about. You just have to keep going. And if for some reason your passion changes, if something changes within your content, you think, I just can't speak about this anymore for whatever reason, then you have to find something else that you're passionate about and go with that instead. Because that is where your joy comes from. If you're not enjoying yourself also doing this, then you shouldn't be doing it at all. If you're not enjoying the content, if you're not enjoying the community that you're part of and the, you know, sort of the cultivating of that community that you're building and all that sort of stuff, then you shouldn't be in it at all. You shouldn't be doing it at all. But that is pretty much it, really. I just wanted to get those points across. There's probably a few things that I've missed that could be worth. If you know sort of any other tips that you've had, if you're watching this as a big creator or something, you want to leave your tips and tricks in the comments below, then by all means do that. But I'm speaking from a perspective of I just want to enjoy this game. I want to make friends and have great experiences along the way. And all of that is sort of coming from a place of I just want to have fun. So that's my perspective and my opinions on what you should be doing as a content creator. But everyone's journey is different, and I appreciate that it might not always be the same. But I'm just giving you what my journey was and what I think you should be doing to become a successful, quote unquote successful content creator. But that is pretty much it for today. So thanks for coming along. If you've listened to the whole thing, then do a hashtag lovely old job if you've listened to the whole thing, just so I know who's listened to it all and who's not. But until next time, I've been Az from Go Again Gaming. We'll see you soon. Cheers.